It's time for another kids colouring book challenge, and no, this is not becoming a kids channel, but there's no rules that say that adults can't enjoy these colouring books as well. If you're new here, I'm Sarah Renee Clark, and my whole channel is about getting creative, trying new things, and teaching you techniques to improve your drawing or colouring at any age. I make adult colouring books, but recently I was inspired by the trend that ADC Art Attack started, and I've been bringing out some colouring books aimed at kids to see how far we can take them with our more advanced techniques and professional artist supplies. So far, I've taken on Thomas Kincaid's original painting style twice, I've coloured in Aladdin, and I've used a picture of Tiana from Disney's website. I've even coloured in the Australian classic kids show Bluey.
Woo! I'm back, baby!
I've got a playlist with all these videos if you'd like to check them out. And today, by popular demand, it's time to colour something from Frozen.
Ooh, do you want to draw a snowman?
Let's just see what's inside and maybe.
Okay, I'll just go wait over here.
So let's have a look inside this book and choose our page for today. The Ultimate Colouring Book, 64 pages. Oh, and these have words, so this definitely is a kid's book, a little bit like a kid's storybook. Now, based on the story, I think this is from the second Frozen movie. Now, in choosing a page, I do really want something with both the sisters in it, but I am open to just exploring and see what we've got here. It's interesting how many details some of these pictures have, even though this is a kid's colouring page, which makes them perfect for the kind of picture we want to do today.
Well, look, a snowman. We should colour the snowman.
I don't really want to colour a snowman today. They are mostly white, and I'm looking for something with a little bit more detail.
Okay, that makes sense. Yep. Yeah, okay. Okay. Oh, look at all those snowmen. They're so cute.
I'm not colouring a snowman. Okay, I've decided on this page where Anna and Elsa are riding down the stairs, which seems like a pretty irresponsible and dangerous and destructive thing to do. But moving on. I think it will definitely help to find this scene in the movie first so I can see what the room and the lighting was supposed to be, see what these dresses look like, and admit that I've never actually watched the entire second movie of Frozen without interruption. But that is just called being a parent. I've got my colours and I'm going to start with the background with our beautiful carpeted staircase. I'm doing a base layer of marker first, and I'll go over this with my pencils later. If you're a regular viewer on this channel, you'll know this is a technique that I often use to create bolder colours and fill large areas quickly, especially when working with thin paper like this paper in these colouring books. Because these markers will bleed through, it does mean losing the page on the back, and I always keep a sheet of bleed-proof paper or tracing paper behind this page so it doesn't go through to the next page as well. I'm using a few different brands of markers today. I've got Pro markers, Copic, Ohuhu, and the Spectrum Noir markers that I received in Jazz's Pro Artist series that I used in my previous video. This combination allows me to have a much bigger range of colours, even though I don't own a massive set of any particular brand, although my Ohuhu set is currently the largest. Because they are all alcohol-based markers, they seem to work together pretty well, but it doesn't matter a whole lot anyway, because I'm not really blending here, I'm just using these as a base layer. I like using my pencils for most of my shading, mainly because I'm personally more comfortable with pencils as a medium, but I do like the detail and control they offer, and they layer over markers really well. It's amazing how a few extra shadows and details can really make such a difference here, and so far, I'm happy with how this is turning out. I'm going to continue working on my background in some of these other areas, first with the markers and then with the pencils. I'm using Prismacolor pencils because I find they blend really easily even on the cheap paper. Unfortunately, this paper does seem to be limiting the amount of layering I can do, so there are some restrictions here that I need to keep in mind as I'm working. It's harder than usual to bring back any highlights or adjust the colours, so I need to plan ahead a little more today. Often I start colouring without a complete plan of what I'm going to do, and I make a lot of adjustments as I go. It's just part of my own creative process as I explore how colours interact and layer with each other. But it does mean drawings like this take longer than they would if I planned ahead a bit more, or if I use my markers for more of this shading instead of relying so much on my pencils. But that's one of the things I love about art. You can approach it in so many ways, and being able to figure things out as I go is something that makes the process exciting for me, because I learn something new every time I sit down to colour. So this background, I thought the room was much darker than it turned out to be, so I went in with a black and I was planning to lighten this with my pencils, but I quickly realised that the room was actually more of a red, so I probably shouldn't have started out so dark, but I'm still confident that I can make this work. I'll use a red marker for the top floor so it's a little bit more lit by the hallway lights, and we'll use our pencils to darken this top area and to lighten the lower area so both of these rooms look similar overall. I think that's it for the background, so it's time to colour our sisters here. I love the joy in this scene, but there's a lot going on, so I wasn't really sure what to colour first. I've decided to just pick something that feels obvious and just do one thing at a time. So we're starting with the bike. For some of these smaller items, I won't always use markers underneath. I'll make that judgment as I go along, depending on what the object is and the amount of shading that it needs. Okay, I think I'm ready to move on to these dresses, so I might take a closer look at this scene again to see what colours and materials these are supposed to be.
Oh, look, a snowman. Do you want to draw a snowman?
I've already done the background. I'm not drawing a snowman.
Okay, this is awkward. Not you're awkward. I'm awkward. Okay.
Back to the dresses. I'm going in with an emerald type of green as a base layer, but I'll stop at Elsa's waist because the dress changes quite a bit at this point. Although her dress seems to be a solid colour, the material looks like it reflects differently in different lighting, so in some scenes like this one, it's more of a warm green at the bottom and a cooler green, almost a teal, near the top. So I'll use the pencils to make these small adjustments as well as add my shading. It's much darker from her waist up, so I'll use a darker teal and come back with a white paint pen for these lighter leaves on top. Once this paint pen dries, I'll go over these with a light green pencil so they aren't so white. Anna's dress is a little more complex with lots of details, and those details are tiny. So instead of trying to work around them all, I've decided to go over the whole thing in green, and I'll come back and do the yellow details with a fine point paint pen. I noticed I could get much finer details by not loading too much paint in my pen in the first place, so this worked quite well for this section. When it dries, I'll do some light shading over the top to dull some of the areas that look too bright at the moment. If you draw on paint pens too soon, they'll just smudge or scratch off. As I work my way through more of this picture, the remaining areas start to make more sense and individual objects become a little more obvious. I'm not entirely sure what this item is behind the sandwich here. Is that part of the sandwich? is that part of her dress? Or is that the picture frame that she was holding in this scene? So I think I'm just going to color it brown. I've done almost everything now except the hair, skin, and this veil because these are all the hardest parts of the image, so I've left them until last. But I want to finish up the background with some quick adjustments first, filling up any final gaps and getting rid of some of this pencil texture using my Caran d'Ache blender pencil to really smooth out some of these areas just a little more. While we're on the topic of coloring, the colouring planners are here. I've got a very limited run of next year's colouring planners available now with monthly goal setting, reflections, colouring pages and more to help you boost your productivity and find a chance to get a little creative every day. This planner has taken me months to draw and design and put together, so it's incredibly exciting to finally have these in our hands and to already see so many photos and positive comments from everyone who has pre-ordered and is starting to receive theirs in the mail. You can even grab some colouring stickers to match, and I've upgraded from sticker sheets this year to a full sticker book. Stock is limited, and once these are gone, I'm sorry, but you'll have to wait for next year's design instead. So head to my website before they run out. Okay, it's time for the hair. I've been dreading the hair just a little bit. If you remember back to when I drew Jazza as Thor as a gift during our collab, I talked about how small faces were much harder to draw than large faces because the details are hard to get right at such a small scale. And the same goes for hair. This would be much easier at a larger scale because I want to add shading and strands of hair, but I don't want to go overboard, and that's hard not to do when these areas are so small. This is where keeping a sharp point on your pencils is essential. And the downside to these particular pencils. Soft core pencils like Prismacolors, although I love them, don't hold a sharp point as well as other brands. In fact, I think it's time to pull out my Caran d'Ache Pablos. These are what I used for Jazza's portrait, and they were great for the fine details in the face and hair, so I'll see if they can help me to improve my details here as well. And I'm not 100% happy, but this might look better when everything else has been coloured, so I'll stop here and come back for some touch-ups at the end if I think it will help. I definitely want to use a reference photo of Anna and Elsa here because their skin tones are both quite different to each other and they are distinctly pale. If I get these wrong, they probably won't look like Anna and Elsa. Both Anna and Elsa have quite rosy cheeks and a lot of pink in their skin, so I'm working with a variety of pinks, browns, yellows and other similar colours to try to replicate a similar look without shading them too heavily. Now for the veil. Veil might not be the right word, but you get what I mean here. This is probably the most complex item in this whole picture because it has a crazy amount of detail and sparkles, with some areas of netting that you can see through and other areas of embroidery throughout the whole thing. I've started with a fairly blotchy first layer of markers, and yes, this is intentional. I'm relying heavily on my pencils to completely change how this looks, with this base layer being nothing more than a slight color adjustment by the end that makes some areas look more transparent than others. The red is coming through from our background scene and the green is supposed to be the veil's color, especially in those areas where there is embroidery. From here, it's a little hard to explain what my pencil layering is supposed to be doing other than just to let you watch. If this were the final veil, I'd probably be a little bit disappointed, but it's okay because we're bringing in some sparkles in a moment. With a white paint pen, I'm covering basically this entire area in sparkles or glitter. I know this isn't exactly what Elsa's dress actually looked like, but I like adding sparkles and it feels very Disney-esque to me. And as some finishing touches, we'll make sure these sparkles are also on her dress and in her hair, and just make a few final touch-ups. Elsa and Anna are done, and our final colouring page looks completely different to the original line work we started with.
So now that we're done,
Yeah.
do you want to draw a snowman? We can use pencils, paints, or
No,
pens.
it's the end of the video. I've put some options over there. Please like and share and watch them till the end.
Just a little bit of color. That's why I'm here.
No, you're here so that they'll subscribe. 'Cause I don't want to draw a snowman.
Just one tiny little snowman.
Okay, fine. Are you happy?
I think we should just cut all of that. That was really embarrassing.